Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. Joining from the Fateless team, we've got Sham and Simon, and then we've also got a special guest today in Julia from Dorian. Good to have you, Julia. You want to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about you and Dorian and all that good stuff?
Yeah, hi, I'm Julia Paladowska. I'm a founder of a platform, legacy games platform called Dorian. We enable non-technical people, mostly artists, writers, and cosplayers, to turn their arts into games and earn money this way. We have had some phenomenal success as to date out of all UGC games platforms out there apart from Roblox that is already existing for a while, and UFN that's also out there for a while with obviously Epic Games, we're the only UGC Games platform that figured out monetization, and we did it with a very unlikely audience that is generally quite underserved by the industry. We have mostly female and queer creators making games for female first fandoms. Around 60% of our audience are Gen Z women that audience is hugely underserved and misunderstood by the industry. And I would
It's
love
it's
to.
funny that that's the same audience we have here. No, I'm just kidding.
It's funny
It
though
always
because
like the opposite, but I think we can learn from each other.
yeah, I was going
I
to say
love
like
what
we
you're doing,
do
guys.
we do the same thing, but obviously it's for different audiences, right? So very much what we're building in terms of GODFORGE is a narrative built game based on our experiences as players and based on what we think our community will want and what our community are telling us. But I'd love just to dig in a little bit, Julia, around are you a gamer yourself? Like, how did you get into this sort of space to be running this business?
Yeah, it's a very, very unlikely story, and I do not know how much time you've got, but I can I can keep talking. But so I'm originally from Ukraine, and I like to say that I've worked in games in 4 different countries to date, and I'm sure there will be more to the list.
Nice.
So the uh, the story is that I grew up in a very economically underprivileged background. And that's not unique to me. If you're coming from Ukraine, it's just unfortunately economically underdeveloped country. There are many more problems that evolved recently, but back then, like it was just economically like struggling since I was born. And I was also brought up by a single mother who is a university professor of linguistics. So
All right.
I did not grow up playing games because it was like first of all not something culturally appreciated in my family, and second, it we also did not have money. And the only some of the games and consoles that I had were either borrowed by friends or like gifted by some friends, but I we did not do this. What I did a lot was I was reading a lot. I was reading fiction a ton. I was reading and writing fan fiction. We went to museums and I definitely appreciated art. So the family was very humanitarian and sort of artistic and fiction and linguistics oriented. Under that influence, I ended up doing my first degree in linguistics in my home city of Kharkiv. It's in the eastern Ukraine. And I basically, yeah, I did not get to appreciate games a lot growing up. But then I ended up joining a company called G5 Games very early in their journey. When I joined, it was a small studio doing mostly work for hire for American publishers. And then what happened, we jumped on this opportunity of growing mobile app stores. Back then, everyone was making games for PC and consoles, and mobile was just getting started.
Yeah.
And we basically got this first mover advantage in mobile. And we actually did make and publish third party games mostly for women, but older demographics, sort of like mostly 40-year-old plus. And
What type of games was that you guys were creating?
the type of games were so we did some development, and we grew a big publishing business. My job became working with third-party developers, and we signed like with 70 different studios, over
Oh, wow.
100 projects that we
Wow.
published during my time there. The most successful titles were hidden object games, time management games, some match 3. But I think that hidden object games became some of the biggest ones, and they're like were all very story focused. So I definitely learned a lot from that. And then so this company got listed in the Nasdaq in Stockholm while I was there. So it was like phenomenal learning experience for me. But I think that personally it was also economically transformational. So my first job I was doing as a student was at another work for hire company just before that. My first salary was like $400 per month. And now Dorian has raised almost 20 million in venture capital. And
Wow.
I have no idea how the hell I did it. If I think as that like little girl who I used to be. So it's like it is pretty crazy. And I think that was a huge motivation to democratize game creation for other people with unlikely backgrounds, and also economically underprivileged locations like myself.
And so you jumped straight from your work essentially as a publisher, work as a publisher, straight into founding Dorian, or was there some in between?
No, I also did. So when I left G5, I moved to the UK. I decided to challenge my mom's preconceived notions that nobody in our family can be good at math. And I got a degree. I got a business degree. And after this, I went straight into venture capital. So again, like I think that what I was conditioned to do and what I actually did are like two different people. So
That's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, so I was lucky to join a venture capital firm investing in games out of London called London Venture Partners. And I spent a bit over 2 years with them. We invested in about 30 game startups at that time. And that was a lot of fun because by then I was playing a lot. London Venture Partners has a phenomenal history. Their founders were some of the initial investors in Supercell.
Mhm.
They had like phenomenal multiple. Unfortunately, the industry doesn't see these multiples anymore at this point,
Yeah.
2026. But back then, they had a phenomenal multiple on their investment. And when I joined, I was a huge Clash of Clans addict.
Nice.
So you could find me at a party with my friends in the corner during a session in Clash of Clans. I was running one of top 100 clans in the world for like about
Nice.
a couple of years. And I was obsessed with that. And then later on, I started a clan in Clash Royale. I was way more casual with Clash Royale, but I still was pretty addicted. And then so that was when I was at LVP. I started this clan. Clash Royale just went out, and I invited all of the LVP founders that LVP invested in to join the clan. So we basically had like quite a few founders,
Yeah.
and surprisingly so, do not tell anyone. let's say you were so bad.
We don't have any time. Like,
Yeah.
come on now.
Did you used
Founders
to
can't be
watch
good at games.
Right,
did you
but
used to
so
watch content on this? Do you know Clash with Ash by any
yeah,
chance?
so I know him. I know him quite well because
Yeah.
he also was working very closely with Plex Chat, one of the startups that we invested in. So yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah. So he's a good friend of ours. He's actually on the board of Fateless. So his actual name is Tim, but yeah, he covered Raid Shadow Legends, and I know Brad, you were sort of one of the first creators that started to do collabs with him when he moved over from Clash of Clans and Clash Royale to Raid Shadow Legends. But great character actually.
yes, he's amazing.
That's so funny though. So you're you move over, you go into venture, you get kind of the other side of the window. I mean, like publishing and venture have some similarities. They're looking for different things. Obviously, I mean, as you well know, maybe much better than I do. But yeah. So did that then, like, is it just you who started Dorian, or was it you and a couple of these founders that are terrible at Clash of Clans? I'm sorry, we were not talking about that. Was it you? How did that happen? What was the next step there?
So I did a couple of things simultaneously, and maybe like just to finish the Clash Royale story
Mhm.
quickly. So the founders of that LVP invested in, they mostly stayed with their company. I did not steal anyone from LVP portfolio. But this is how I fell in love with my husband. So my husband and I, we met at the business school, and initially I feel like I entirely friend zoned him, and I was not interested. And he was. It turned out that he had been a gamer for many years before he started like working professionally, and maybe did it last. But I invited him to our clan with LVP founders, and suddenly he shot to number one, like very quickly in the clan. And I was like, how did he do this? And he was making some, advances. He demonstrated some interest, and I was like, show me. So we started playing together, and he was so good that I reconsidered and I started falling in love with him.
You were like, his skills are so good. Let's go.
He was so strategic, and like when someone is so like
Mm.
when someone is like not pretending, not like trying to maybe uh, do something that is like not natural for them when they try to get your attention. Oh, but then he was like so good at this. When someone is so good at something, and that was gaming, and I was the leader of this clan, and I am competitive person, so I was like, oh my god, like he knows what he is doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt like I was falling in love with him. And then so after shortly after that, I was like, well, maybe like so he was number one, I was number two, and I was like, I'm better than anyone else. Maybe I start my own company. I'm kidding, but the thinking was that I started playing those mobile games that you might know, chapters or episode.
Mm.
They started being on the rise back then. It's basically a combination of reading a book and playing like a visual novel slash like comic. And I got very addicted. I had all of the numbers at my disposal back then, and I could see how much money they were making. It was insane in terms of revenues. Several of those apps were like north of $100 million per year.
Crazy, yeah.
But then the thinking was, oh wow, like this is so good and this is so fun for women. A lot of the games that are made for women are still made by men, so there are like a lot of things, like nuance really matters, right? So there is a lot of nuance that is lost in making games for women uh, by people who do not necessarily always relate. And I was like, wow, like what if we can enable the artists and writers who are currently contracted to make these games and they would not participate in the upside because of the traditional studio model. What if they can make games directly? And then when I started studying this, first of all, I was very inspired by my background, because a lot of these artists and writers, they're like not making much money.
Not making any money. Yeah.
And they are mostly women as well. And there's like, I have benefited so much from joining the games industry the way I did. Is the transformation for my life has been like insane. If you look like at my beginnings, you wouldn't be able to predict it. What if we can do this for more people like myself who are conditioned to read fiction and not do math? So what if we democratize production of such games for all of these people who usually have a lot of followers on Instagram or Wattpad, and they would sometimes have like millions of views and likes, but this doesn't translate into money. What if we enable them to make games? And I think that monetization is one of my strengths. What if we democratize monetization and they do not have to raise money to hire engineers? They do not have to find a publisher. They do not have to search for a job in a studio, which is usually unrealistic for many of them. What if they go directly to this Instagram followers and offer them this art, but translated in the game format? So that was the vision, and I thought about it for some time. And basically, at the same time, I got married to this guy who was very good at Royale, and we moved. We decided to move to San Francisco for me to start the company. And he actually joined back then that startup that later hired team.
Oh, that's cool.
He was with that startup for a couple of years.
Oh, that's so cool. So how long ago was that? And I guess, so you said you've raised over $20 million like for this. So like
just a bit shy of
just shy. So like how long ago was that? And then now you're here, and maybe talk about Dorian. I'm looking at Dorian right now. Home.dorian.live is what I'm looking at right now. To tell us like from inception, I guess, San Francisco to now.
Yeah. So I met my co-founder, who is our CTO, Jordan Lee, in San Francisco. He is ex Nexon. He used to be a Digital Chocolate, if you remember this company. He's a fantastic engineer, and he was basically sold on the idea, and we started building. I was very, very lucky. Thanks to my background, we raised our first round, seed round, very quickly. LVP was one of the investors, and we raised a couple of million, and we started building. And then, so I think that the journey has been very unexpected, because I think that majority of people who I know, including honestly yourselves, even though you are very unique in many other ways, it's like very, very different building a studio versus building a UGC platform, which is essentially a marketplace where you've got supply and demand. And if you have a studio background, that's not what, like, my preconceived notions were turned out not to be true. I thought, well, we just can repeat what these other successful studios are doing, but just enable independent creators, writers, and artists to do just that.
Well, did you originally have like a few games that you could release on your platform to almost like kickstart it? Like, is that something you needed to do, or did you design them yourselves, or did you already have like creators you were working with? Like, how did that sort of start to blossom? Because that's got to be quite a challenge, someone like chicken and egg type of scenario. Yeah.
And it's always like, you have to balance them. Like, once you pay attention to one side, you lose a bit.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting balancing act. So we did start with making some of our games internally just to test. We started with testing in Philippines initially. Basically, we validated some of our new design ideas, and then we started building tools in order to enable just that. So the initial wave of creators were actually contract writers who were hired to test our tools, and that was content that they built for Dorian, that we owned and basically just started testing with. But the biggest value in this was that they were able to help us dog food our tools and give us feedback and see what they were struggling with, because basically we just onboarded them on our first version of the engine. It was like very, very simple version MVP of what we have now. And then they were supposed to independently build the entire thing and release it. So our engine works, and even back then, we prioritized that you click a button and your game appears in our app instantly. So you have full control as a creator. And then we learned that over time, I think in hindsight, it's very clear that because we still had in the first wave, we had a lot of creative control, and we had our preconceived notions in terms of like accepting contract work. This did not quite click, because the magic is when you actually give your creators as much control as possible and just see what works and what doesn't work, and build on whatever is working and democratize it for even more creators. So the magic is not to think that you know better because you built successful games, multi-million-dollar games before, when you're building UGC platform. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah,
but
makes sense. Yeah.
It does make sense. I actually I have a question around this. So like when you think about successful platforms, the platforms of the past were very curated. Like, you know, Nintendo only accepted X number of games, and then at this point, kind of to your point, they're basically uncurated. They're curated in the sense that the people that are making them decide whether or not it's interesting enough to post. But beyond that, it's not curated by anyone, by any like overlord, right, that's watching it, or some or any algorithm or anything like that. First of all, am I right about that? Do you guys do any curation on the platform?
So there is some moderation, so that automatic and also human, to make sure that there is nothing inappropriate or illegal going on. But other than that, no. Like basically, you can release unless you like break community guidelines. You can release pretty much anything, and then in terms of discovery, at the moment we do have curation of like what is featured, right?
Featured,
What
yeah.
else? But at the same time, you can find any game. If you know the author's name, you can find any game, and there are well over 10,000 episodes released on the platform.
And you mentioned that, you know, a lot of the creators that come on, they could be writers, they could be cosplayers, you know, content creators. So obviously they're not technicians, they're not people that have got game development background. So, I mean, how do they come in and actually build a game on your platform? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's kind of going back to what Sham said. It's, I think the biggest difference between, for example, us and Nintendo is that those are professionals, right?
Mm.
So that's a huge difference how people perceive professionally made games and UGC games, or like games coming directly from creators.
Yeah.
You're kind of like your super unique case study for the industry, and I'm super impressed by what you guys are doing. But I think that so you're somewhere in between, but the industry doesn't know many of those cases, if any. But I think that in our case, we're unique about enabling non-technical people to make full-fledged games that are usually made by like about 10-person studio. So you do not need an engineer, you do not need, or engineers, you do not need analysts, because our analytics is very accessible and provided in the engine for free. for creators. You do not need any designers. We kind of made game design, and now you can build something quite advanced without any understandings. There are like tools around this, and we're constantly working on democratizing more and more. And our job is to basically give creators everything that they need to be successful without engineers and funding. But yeah,
It's
so
very cool. Yeah.
our creators are artists and cosplayers, and the way it works, it's visual interface that we have invested uh, probably close to 20 million in developing. And I like to say that we raise this money so that creators do not have to. And then you have visual interface. You can easily see what you're making. You have like a game emulator. Oh, you can build some pretty advanced mechanics. Again, we have built what is accessible in no coding environment based on what we see working. So there has been like multiple generations of what you can make on Dorian. And now we have games that have earned 7-digit numbers. Like we have several multi-million-dollar games built by like one or two people. And we
Crazy.
have quite a few six-figure games built also by solo cosplayers or artists.
And do you find sort of the same creator, once they understand the flow of this and they get a good audience, do they release additional games or updates to their games which continue to do that? Is that
Yeah, that's the best way to do so, because
Yeah.
basically the portfolio strategy is what works the best. Usually people, once they understand the system, you can build an episode and it can be a high quality episode in a day. It can be like very high quality game. To give you a comparison, we've got some creators who are either coming from more traditional gaming or vice versa, trying to explore other platforms. What you can make in a matter of days on Dorian does really take a year plus on other platforms at the minimum. Not to mention that our platform also allows you to update instantly, so you will see your own data as a creator pretty fast. You will see your drop-off points, you will see your completion rates, retention rates, you will see your monetization rates, and you can update based on this data instantly. You can update 100 times per day if you want to, if it's like your priority. You do not need an extra build, you do not need any permission from Dorian, you do not need any engineers. It's just entirely under your control. And our philosophy is like, give as much control to creators as possible, and obviously as much tools and like guidance to them so that they can actually execute as well as they're set up for success.
It's interesting. Just quickly, it just come into my head. When I was younger, I used to read these books, and they were fantasy books. So it was kind of I think the author was Steve Jackson, if my memory serves me right. Basically, it was like you have a scenario that's playing out on this page, and then it's like, if you want to go and, I don't know, fight this dragon, turn to page 195, or if you want to run and hide, turn to this page, or if you want to try and find a secret room, turn to this page. And I used to love these books. It was literally just like a role playing sort of game, but through a book. And that some of the books they'd have the ending as the final page. You could sort of, if you couldn't find a way to get there, you were like flicking through trying to find the way in. Or some of them would like hide the ending somewhere in the book. And anyway, it ended up being like a book that you could reread, replay in 100 different ways. I used to find them really fun and really exciting, actually. And it feels like
choose your own adventure, man. I love that.
Yeah,
love that
so I've never played this style of game, but I guess I have when I was younger, but just through a book. So I kind of get the vibe of why people would sort of go from one story to another. I used to do exactly the same thing. Once you're sort of in that zone, and you're really enjoying it, and you've got an author that you like or a creator that you like, and like their style of of telling a story. I guess they just sort of go from one episode to the next to see what's the new sort of thing that they've created up. So yeah, it just sort of occurred to me. I was like, actually, I don't feel like I've played this, but actually I have. It's just in a very different sort of style of doing it.
Well,
Yeah, so I think that that's actually it's usually, many people call it choose your own adventure kind of books, but yeah, that's basically you can call it's a little bit of an old industry term, choose your own adventure. Now, what people are making specifically on Dorian, because it's mostly female demographic on both sides, is that it's we call it dating sims or visual novels. The most popular games on the platform are dating simulators, which means that you basically can develop relationships with different characters. And depending, like, it's very high replay value because you usually have multiple love interests, and you can level up your um, love interests, and then you can, depending on where you are with this love interest, you can unlock different storylines, you can unlock different outcomes. You can have, like, they can friend zone you, for example, if it's designed.
I mean, as you said, all you have to do is show them you can play Clash, and you're good.
Yeah, back in,
Yeah,
got a
but like,
chance.
if you are good at this, if you can figure them out, then you can be unfriend zoned, right? So if you're good at the game, that's how it goes in
Yeah.
this household. So
Well, so real quick, I want to ask maybe a silly question. Maybe it's not a silly question. Like, so you have the demographics that you have, and you have this focus on the female demographic and the queer community, just because that's underserved. But I mean, this is very much quite popular, particularly with Japanese teens. Exactly, dating simulators and choose your own adventures. I mean, or whatever you want to, not dating sims. Choose your own adventures, kind of like the Telltales. Those are very popular, with males and with this demographic. Is there a reason that you've like? Is there a reason that you're not aiming to do that, or is it just like a timeline thing? Like you haven't like gone that direction, or is it philosophical?
so there is no reason why you cannot create whatever you want for whatever audience that you want. You can do like any style, any audience, and then you can basically share. So you can do any audience that you like. We do not uh, interfere, and we will support this. Moreover, former narrative director at Telltale, Ryan Kaufman, has been a Dorian user for the last year and a bit. He was narrative director on most of their titles for 7 years at the peak, and now he's making his own titles on Dorian. But he actually converted, so he's one of the things that he shared with us multiple times, even publicly with our community, when he did some sessions, he shared that he thought that one of the problems at Telltale was that they did not do enough romance, and he wished they did more. So he converted. Now he's making dating sims.
He's making all dating sims.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
You go where
he's
the people
making
go.
dating
That's fine.
sims, and he's doing a lot of exploration and experimentation on his own. So yeah, generally speaking, you can, but I think that first of all, there is definitely big market for us, and the way we approach this is that our creator classes, who are mostly artists, cosplayers, writers, they tend to be women, and romantasy is so much on the rise. And obviously that is more female dominated, even though of course you do not have to be a woman to enjoy this kind of content.
Yeah.
And then basically helping all of these people who are usually not monetizing or poorly monetizing translate their talent and vision into games is part of it. So we haven't even scratched the surface, I think, in terms of like how big the opportunity is, in terms of just like helping so many more artists to become game creators. And then our top case studies are all proving this, because people who are now using Dorian as their main source of income, they are mostly women and queer creators, and they are mostly artists and cosplayers who are bringing something that studios just do not know how to approach. And they just know their fans so much better than a traditional studio would ever be able to do. And another part of this that I really, really love, I like to say that um, oftentimes I see that control freaks on Dorian do super well when they have this vision and they do not have to dilute it with the team. They can just hold the entire vision and do everything by themselves. And this is where the magic is oftentimes, because they like deeply sense their audience, but they're not maybe at the point yet when they're ready to start hiring a team and like kind of coaching others. They just enjoy that they can take the entire vision by themselves. And this is when you have these unexpected games that resonate with Gen Z women so well, because the industry is not serving this demographic. Like
Yeah, I
oftentimes,
think.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
No,
you
no.
go.
I was gonna say I just it just came to my mind. I spend a lot of time checking out like webtoons and some of the manhwas and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and those things, and a lot of those are very, again, I'm there's a wide range of people that are interested in that type of content. I feel like what you've said, everything that you've said from my perspective, like if you grabbed a webtoon artist who had a badass power fantasy level up fantasy
Yeah.
type of game, people would be like, fuck yeah, I want to try that. Let me check this out. So I mean, it's really cool that you've kind of built this, like you said, it's a platform. Like it's like there is no Roblox game. There's just games on Roblox, and it sounds like it's the same thing for Dorian. There's no Dorian. Maybe there is a Dorian game. I don't know, but I'm assuming there's no Dorian game. There's just creators that are making UGC user generated content.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be for anybody. It's about who
Yeah,
comes in
yeah, yeah.
first, and then kind of
Yeah.
super cool.
So we do have several webcomic creators. In fact, like on Webtoon, for example, the top genre is actually romantasy and romance. So we have a few webcomic creators who used to be on webcomic platforms, but now they're basically on Dorian, and some of them even start studios. Now this like small studios, usually
Cool.
1-2 people and some contractors. But we basically, I think that to me that's like huge dream coming true, because I see webcomic artists coming to the platform, figuring it out, and then like, oh wow, like I can make this my job. And then they basically, these registered businesses, and now they have small teams working on Dorian games. And yes, as you asked, Simon, portfolio makes a lot of sense, because, for example, if your fans like your art style, they are gonna explore everything in your art style. So if you have multiple games, you just kind of multiply the potential to grow and retain the same demographic, because of the character focus and usually character relationships and these fictional relationships. Character art is hugely important. That's the biggest selling point, and that's why artists can do so well.
So are we going to test one of the tales on Dorian? Is that what I'm hearing? a GODFORGE tale.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do this with you guys, and we can enable you to do this very quickly, and maybe like experiment, because why not? You're doing very unconventional things. We're doing very unconventional things. Let's try something together.
Hell yeah, man!
That's fun.
It sounds like it'd be fun. I'm interested in what that tool set's is like, and I'll probably play around with it. But well, so tell us more about the future of Dorian. So like you've told us about like how you got here. What's next?
So what's next is our goal is to be a YouTube for games, and I like to think about this as like, still, yes, we can grow in any direction, but for the foreseeable future, I would like to prioritize female first fandoms on the platform, and our goal is to become the biggest UGC games for female first platform. We are technically the biggest already. There is no one else, but we want to be massive like Roblox. And there is definitely, if you think how huge writing and artistic communities are, and how big of an opportunity to translate their art into games that are actually monetizable, that's like big work ahead of us. We are currently working on something that you guys inspired hugely. We are working on our first community round, We want to double down on being like community-owned platform, and we are launching a community round in like the next couple of weeks.
Wow. Okay, soon. Let's go.
What does
Yeah,
that look like? Like when you say community round, what does that mean to you guys? Is it like a Kickstarter, or do you have like a platform?
We are using one of those platforms called Republic.
Yeah.
It is like Crowdcube
I
and
love
similar
Republic.
platforms. We chose that one because they have some previous games experience. So we are opening up a small round where anyone can invest and make a small investment. We are like we are partnering with a few of our creators to basically um, pitch the games that they want to make on Dorian to their existing audiences, and getting these audiences to support the round so that these creators can be boosted by us, because we are
Yeah.
constantly working on new tools. And for example, we just launched um, a new title with called Slashfic. It's about slasher. It's basically horror romance kind of game.
Horror romance. All right. I'm
Yeah,
down.
yeah. It is really cool, and it includes some of the new technologies and new abilities that are currently only available to the Dorian team. We partnered for this title. We partnered with 14 artists and 14 voice actors. It's our first fully voiced game. It's
Oh, cool.
phenomenal voice acting. It's our first game with a chance mechanic. It's our first game with full idle animations of characters. And so basically, we are working towards enabling all of these new technologies for all creators on the platform by making them no coding, because right now it required some coding as our test title. But we basically partnering with a few creators who we want to elevate through this round. But anyone can invest. It's going to be starting from very small tickets to bigger tickets, and it's going to be on very favorable um, conditions for the community. So this will be a small round for the reason that we just want to give away kind of small small part of it, but on very favorable terms.
Have the community be, be a part of the journey, man. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's so cool. That you guys you're doing that.
yeah,
You said
yeah.
it's a
So,
couple weeks from now.
yeah, yeah. We already like nearly done with the private page that I will send to you, and then we're finalizing the legal part of it because it's like fully regulated, so that anyone can invest. It's crowdfunding, and yes, we're launching this, and I'm super excited to see how this goes, because obviously for the industry it is very experimental. I know that you created a lot of buzz with what you have achieved, but generally speaking, like I spoke to multiple game company founders, and because VC model is kind of not as viable for many game companies anymore. You saw this yourself to some
Yeah.
extent, I think, but also the situation is changing. I think from based on like my observations compared to the time when I was a VC, back then the industry was growing much faster. Now, realistically, the growth has slowed down. It doesn't mean that we cannot produce hugely and massively commercially successful games, but the growth has slowed down, so the multiples are not there anymore. We will not. It's much harder to get supercell like multiples at this point of time, and it's very unlikely that you will get this through many startups. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm still like this. I will work on games until I die. But I think that it's just the reality of it. And many founders who I spoke to, they when they heard about this idea of raising from your community that you really are pioneering, they get super excited. So I hope that we can make a push. We will learn a lot through our round, and then I will share the playbook with everyone else gladly.
Well, don't show the. No, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, I think it's required, and we talked about this a little bit,
Yeah.
when we met. But this is the way that the industry has to go. Like, otherwise, how do you get found? How do you find the people that are going to love,
Yeah.
whatever you're doing?
Especially if you've already got this sort of passionate group of
Right.
players, creators, people that are super passionate about your platform. It just makes complete sense that so firstly, they'd want to take a part of that. They want a piece that, like, and obviously they can see where this has gone from sort of day one to where it is now. So it makes a lot of sense for that group to come in, or other people that are sort of passionate, creators, artists, writers, and actually they want to understand it. They can sort of come and have a look and think, well, maybe this does make sense, to be a part. So no, I
And
like
also,
that.
like, we want our community to have part of the pie, right? Like, for example, Webtoon had over 1 billion market cap when they did IPO. Roblox IPO'd very successfully. Wattpad sold for 600 million. So Twitch sold for 1 billion. And in all of those cases, creators really didn't have a chance to participate, and I would really like to change that. And then I think that as a community, like, we are mostly working with young women. We want young women to be part of the conversation, right? And we want them to be part of a successful journey that we're working very hard towards. And then we want these women to benefit in multiple ways. First of all, making money off of their Dorian games. Second, as shareholders. And then this splashes out into the ecosystem as we grow. And this enables them and more women to start companies, invest in other companies, and to participate, like, be part of this conversation. That has never happened before. So I'm very, very excited about this community round and enabling people to become part of this, and then kind of learning with us and being part of the journey.
Yeah, it's super cool that you're doing it in that way, and not like in a. I think, if it was a Kickstarter, that would have been. It's a very different type of deal. But I think
Yeah.
you guys are doing it right. You've got, I forget what the actual number is for what the crowdfunding, but actually taking in equity. You for sure know.
It's called equity crowdfunding. Yeah.
Equity crowdfunding, sure.
Yeah.
So it's awesome but yeah, having people not just say, hey, I want to see this come to fruition, so here's some money. It's more like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be an active part of this. Yeah, I want to be a partner in the journey.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love to see it. So that's super. I didn't know it was gonna be this soon. We had talked a little bit about you considering some of these angles, but I didn't know you guys were this far along. That's amazing.
Yeah. Let's just do this. Let's do it. And it's so exciting. And then I think that it will also be a big public service for the industry. Not just for our community, but for the industry itself. Because the way I'm thinking about it, look, games are generally like a huge industry with huge consumption. Our particular angle at Dorian is that we are serving this, like, creative classes that are not making money, and we want them to be able to do this. And then, like, I think that people who appreciate content online that is distributed for free, and as they spend so much time on Instagram and TikToks and, say, on Netflix,
Yeah.
I think that part of this round, to me, is educating all of these audiences that if you allocate your coffee budget or your Netflix budget to something that you do for so many hours every day, even if it's $10 per month that you just budget for your content consumption on Dorian or on any other platform that enables something like this, maybe for very different type of content creators, you are doing such a huge difference directly for these content creators you're consuming. And this makes it much more sustainable for content creators to, and you Simon, you know this, yeah, like you
Yeah.
have probably had like phenomenal journey. Maybe I should interview you next for our content creators to like how you got there, because you probably struggled monetizing this for quite a while, right? So you can relate. I'm making assumptions here.
Well, yeah,
But
it's certainly you have to make big calls for sure, because you know at certain points, and I know Brad was in the same place as this. It's like, at what point do you go from being a content creator that's doing full-time work and trying to fit content creation in to being a full-time content creator, and how do you make that work financially? And like for me, I've got family and stuff like that. So there's actually big considerations to make. I know, Brad, how long were you doing content for before you went full-time?
About 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah. It's a big step, right? It's a big, so, and actually, I mean, Brad, just quickly talk about the industry you were in, and because even when you did it, it's still a big step, right?
Yeah. So I kind of worked in like the golf industry and then the finance industry, and I kind of got started in 2008 doing content, but you couldn't really monetize until like 2014 or 2015. So it wasn't, I was just doing it for fun on the side, because I loved gaming. And then I finally was able to get monetized around 2019. It took about 11 years. And then I didn't leave my job in finance and in the banking industry until I made more money doing content for 6 consecutive months compared to my job. And then once I hit that,
Yeah.
I put in my notice and gave them a month, and then went full time with it. Which of course, and the day after I announced that, COVID happens. So I'm quitting my job as the pandemic starts, and I was like, well, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's definitely, so it's no easy path. And I think I'm a bit more risk on than Brad. And, so I saw a path to being able to monetize and actually support my family and stuff. And so I went all in earlier than that, but still that was only with sort of, I guess assurances in my mind that, okay, if this does not work for me, I can go back in and find something similar to what I used
I'll
to
be all right.
do.
I'll survive. Right?
Yeah.
That's the difference in mentality, though. Like, I think if you had been grinding for 11 years and it never worked
True,
out,
maybe, yeah.
you would have
Yeah.
been like, am I sure? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but you had kind of a meteoric rise. So,
Yeah,
you
mine
were
was
able
much
to
quicker, yeah.
kind of be like, okay, this is working.
Yeah. But again, like you're right. I think it's more exceptional. And still probably it was not so easy to make this decision, make this jump in the beginning, right?
No, and then there was other sort of things that we sort of jumped to as we went, right? So I started as a content creator, then I worked with Dan, and we sort of built this website up, which was kind of like so for me, as like a bit of a business background, so I was thinking, well, how do I get different revenue streams to try and make sure that there's just fallbacks? There's always like something else going on that bolsters this sort of business that we're moving into. So moving into the website business and having hellhades.com was really powerful. Then obviously we started to build Fateless, and that was like the next evolution of what we were doing. But it's it's kind of like just it's just my mentality really. It's like, what's next? How do we do something amazing? And when we get these different ideas coming in, it's like, right, well, what can we do with that? So that's just like the way I am. I'm just quite driven to to do something, and then not to come in and do it in like a small way. I'm driven to like, how do we do something really cool? But anyway,
but you guys are enabling it. Like you're giving people a faster path, right? A faster path to with a higher quality bar too. I mean, the thing that I think most excited me about when you were talking about it is that you try to help facilitate artists with, or sometimes artists and writers will kind of come together, because you don't always have the full skill set, but you also don't want to, like, it's hard to go out and find a team if you, but oh, I like this person's style. Like maybe they reach out to each other. Like I'm sure there's so much of that,
Yeah, that's true. We've got a few small teams that met each other on Dorian and started working together, and even some started studios, which is amazing. And then, I think that for I can see that majority of them are used to be part-time content creators, like artists. We have a few cosplayers. We even hosted a Comic-Con panel discussion why cosplayers make some of the best game creators, and that's a
Oh, cool.
conversation for like a separate podcast. But without maybe for privacy and not naming names, but one of, for example, cosplayers and Dorian, we have several successful ones. One of them is was doing cosplay for a few years, and that was basically very inconsistent income. How do you make money off of this? You get maybe some brand deals, some game
Yeah.
companies might pay you for something, do some shoots, maybe some social media partnerships. But that's very hard, and you have to chase this, and it's very, very inconsistent, even if you have millions of followers. And now this creator found their niche on Dorian, executed really well, understood their fans very, very deeply. We are trying to do everything we can in order to remove any obstacles for them to deliver better and better content for their fans. Now they have an entire portfolio, but they went from um, trying Dorian to their first really significant hit in just a year. And if you compare this as a first time game creator, if you compare this to traditional paths of someone who maybe starts in QA, and then if they're lucky to get
A
to stay at
producer there or
studio,
whatever.
Yeah.
become a producer, maybe in 10 years, and maybe only in 10 years they will start making decisions. Many people even longer. And that only if they're lucky to get hired in the first place. For example, this creator is not located anywhere close to those opportunities. So this is phenomenal speed, and now this creator is a sole breadwinner for, well, most I'm not sure, but I think sole breadwinner for their family. They bought a house, so
Yeah,
they're
that's amazing.
and they have this portfolio so that they can actually take time off that continues selling because people continue playing their games even if they are not actively releasing. So this is what we want to enable and to kind of raise awareness that is possible for these creative classes that are usually struggling very much, but are very passionate and very good at what they're doing as artists, cosplayers, writers. And oftentimes they do have a lot of engagements that they can not make a living off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I'm personally really excited about it. I am gonna I'm gonna try it out and see if we'll see what a Godforge tale could look like on
Yeah, I like
Dorian.
that.
Just yeah, why not? Let's give
Let's
it
do
a
this.
shot and see where it
Let's
goes.
I'm happy to help and give you any feedback. We can definitely create some sort of collab, and it can be very fast, easily small lift experiment.
We should do it. You know what? I'll reach out to because I know Aaron would dive.
Aaron would be down for this.
Aaron would just
straight away,
okay. So
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Aaron. Well, because he's our lore keeper is what we call him, right? Narrative director.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have him and maybe I'll grab Jerry. Jerry's been pretty hyped up about this type of stuff. Those two, you're gonna have something pretty awesome. We'll do a collab. And yeah, I mean, good luck on everything for the for getting. I don't want to the equity crowdfunding. I was gonna say crowdfunding, but equity crowdfunding sounds really awesome.
Thank
and
you.
I guess as soon as that's live,
I can't thank you enough for some of your advice on this because I think that that's kind of what I'm talking about. If you did not do this, I'm not sure we would go for it because
right?
and us setting an example for in our community or for other studios and developers just hopefully unlocks opportunities because there are so many communities that want different type of games that they would support. This is what I see on the platform, right?
Yeah.
Something very unexpected. That I think that we can grow the pie for everyone as an industry, basically unlock new opportunities. Just like they say, well, the industry slowed up. What if we turn all artists into game creators and all of their fans game consumers. Will it grow the industry? I hope so.
I think so. It'll at
so.
least democratize it and make it so people can
Yeah.
kind of
Just
do the
another
things that
option,
we're
right?
doing and that you
Yeah.
guys have done. So like that's amazing. Well, real quick before we kind of like wrap it up, Brad, we have to ask the most important question. I think you know what it is. Before we let any guests leave.
Yeah, sure. So Julia, it's been a blast having you. Thanks for joining us. And one thing we like to get perspective from people their first time joining the channel is, our game is based on heroes and lore and mythologies and all of these figures throughout history from all different cultures. Do you have one that stands out to you that you think would be cool to see come to life in a game like GODFORGE? Do you have a favorite?
Oh my God. This is like, look, I live and breathe as this kind of fantasies in my day job. So we do not have another hour, right? But but I think that this is actually something that you can test on our platform. I'm sorry for like shameless plug, but we can actually help you get community perspective on something like this very quickly. And I would love to show you how, because that's what we're doing with many of our creators. But I think that I'm a big fan of Greek mythology. I was that's what I was consuming and even writing fan fiction for. So I would love to see Athena represented
Okay.
in the
We
game.
have an Athena. We have a good Athena.
Oh,
But I
you
think
have her already.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
awesome.
it's no problem. It's no problem. If you have one that's not a part of like if you can off the top of your head think of not Egyptian, not what am I saying? I'm saying Olympus, but it's not Olympus. Yeah, not Greek, not Norse mythologies. If you have one off the top of your head, but I love that you went for Athena. Like I don't know if I told you guys this, but Athena, Freya, Apollo are my 3 kids. So
You have your daughter's name
good
is
show.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So basically, when I was like a child, like I don't know, maybe 10, that's the like nicknames that I assume.
Really? Oh, you'll love Athena then. You guys
Yeah,
would definitely get
yeah,
along.
yeah. It's a great name. Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's do a collab for this, and this will also have give me a chance to think, because we have so much mythology fantasies on the platform, and I think our community can actually propose something very professionally for you, because we have data on this. We have a lot of creators who are into this. Let's collab.
All right,
Yeah,
Dorian
cool.
X Fateless. Let's do it. I love it.
Heck yeah, cool. And guys, you heard it here. If you're being friend zoned, stop chasing her. Just join her spaces and dominate until she notices you.
That's the way to do it.
How you do this. That's how you do this. If not 2026 for sure.
Excellent.
Just
There you
show how good you are.
You're a badass.
That's right. That's right. Hey, yeah. Well, Julia, again, thanks for joining us, and we'll have all of the Dorian links down below to check out all the stuff that was discussed here in this video. So yeah, that'll do it for us on this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Phil.